Hey everyone, Steve here again. It's time for another Remington's Ramblings, and before any of you ask, yes, this is an Indiana Jones hat. I've had it for years. I normally don't wear it, but yeah, here it is. See, it says Indiana Jones. An official Indiana Jones hat, and it was relatively cheap. I thought it would be a lot more expensive. But anyways, let's get down to the talking. I try to keep these things to like 20 minutes in length. I was kind of stumbling around thinking of a topic to speak of, and I thought, well, what can I talk about that has to do with the military? Like, what kind of military stories could I have? And really, they are running low. There are some stories that will never be told. But then I thought, you know what? Like I said, most of the good stuff happened within a 1 year time period, and one of them is about HAWC searches. I don't have a specific story to tell about HAWC searches, but basically this is stuff that takes place during tech school. Now, before I begin the story, I'm going to have to screw my camera onto the tripod here, but I have it off so I can show you the room. And just so you can see how packed with stuff it is. I mean, I've got stuff stacked here in front of the dresser. This bookshelf is just totally covered with stuff. I mean, these action figures, these DC lantern figures, there's stuff behind them. There's stuff behind those books. There's stuff behind the bed here, both sides. Down here is like all my gaming stuff. Of course, you know, it's difficult to get light down here, but trust me, there's a lot of gaming stuff down here. There's War Machine stuff, there's 40K stuff, Monster Apocalypse stuff, just lots of stuff. Up here, you know, like, people keep asking about, like, what's up with the Pringles can and the milk carton? Well, it's candy, imported, that I still haven't finished off yet, and the Pringles can has this speaker on it that you send a wave for. So you just plug it in and turn it on, there you go. I got myself an air compressor here, and I have like an airbrush, but it's one of those cheapo ones you get from Hong Kong, so it's not all that great. Alright, anyhow, go ahead and put this onto the tripod here. My face is going to be pretty dark since I don't have any lights on this other side of the room, but you know. Right now, I am going to be over the bed like this because I have my change can here. This is just a can of change that whenever I'm going to be going on to some kind of a trip or something, I always cash in all my change. And this happens about twice a year. I accumulate a lot of change. So just bear with me as I go ahead and sort out change. There's probably about 40 bucks worth in here. Alright. HAWC searches. I wanted to show you my room so you could see all the stuff that's in here, how I just pack everything in, and then the HAWC searches will make a lot more sense. Basically, when you're in tech school, they say that basic training is like high school, so tech school is like college. In basic training, you're not allowed to do anything. There's tons of rules you have to follow. It's just a through and through unpleasant process. Like I said, you know, there's lots of rules. You have to do what they tell you. You can't do anything. So when you get out of high school and go into college, I mean, suddenly, you know, you can do anything you want. I know this was said on South Park years ago. They said there's a time and a place for everything, and it's called college. Well, tech school is like college because you're out of basic training. You've paid your basic dues. Now it's time for you to learn the basics of your job. Like, you know, you're out of high school, you know the basics of stuff. Now it's time to go to college and get a little more specialized. So, you know, they send these people off to tech school who've been stuck in basic training for 6.5 weeks or 2 months, and suddenly they have all these freedoms. Now, when they let you out of basic training, they don't give you freedom all of a sudden. they make you work up to it. They slowly give you more privileges, which can be taken away if you screw up. But all of a sudden, you're allowed to go to sleep. Like, not when someone says go to sleep. You're allowed to go to sleep when you want to. As soon as you're done with school for the day and there's no working out to do, you can go back to your dorm room and go to sleep. You can sleep all the way till the next morning. You can take just about as long as you want to eat. You can go back for seconds. There's tons of freedom. But one of the things that they do to keep people in check is something called a HAWC search. I don't know what it stands for, but essentially what they do is they will search your room. And they don't just search your room, they search all the rooms. So an entire dormitory will get a HAWC search where every single TL and tech school teacher who teaches your particular field will all get together one night and they will go to your dorm, they will bang on the door, and it doesn't matter what time of night it is, but it typically has to be on a weekend because they're going to keep you up late. So they can't keep you up late on a school night and then expect you to be able to be alert for school the next day. But they will all get together, they'll bang on your doors, they'll make you go outside into the cold of night, and they will put you into a designated area. You have to wait there. And they'll search your pockets to make sure you're not taking anything out of your room. It's kind of like prison in that sense, where when they search prisoners' cells, and basically they're searching for contraband. They're looking for alcohol because you're not supposed to have alcohol in your room. You're not really supposed to have a lot of cigarettes. You're not supposed to have any drugs, of course, or weapons, or anything of that nature. So, if you thought you were going to be sneaky and hide something, they'll find it. Because, they'll just go through everything. Now, some people, their HAWC searches take relatively short amount of time for these people to go through one room. Because, you're in tech school, you're not really supposed to have a lot of stuff. There's no law against you having a lot of stuff, but typically it's tech school, you don't have a lot of stuff. As you can see, I have a lot of stuff. Now, obviously, I've lived here for several years, and I'm not in tech school anymore. But even in tech school, I accumulated a lot of stuff. I was a collector then, just as I am now. So, I was collecting stuff. At that time, I did have some figures, but mostly I was collecting DVDs and Gundam model kits. After a while, I decided that, I was going to start buying Gundam kits again because, hey, I had the money. Yeah, I didn't exactly have the time to put them together, but I had money. So I was going to buy these kits. And this was during the time where the Gundam craze had just about ended in the US. And so big chain stores that were carrying Gundam kits wanted to get rid of them, and they were willing to sell them at rock bottom prices. So I would go to ToysRUs.com, and they would be selling 2 master grade kits for probably $25, $30. So that's like $15 for a master grade kit. That is an unbelievably unbeatable deal. So, I was buying just these freaking kits left and right. Couldn't believe it. So, I had lots of stuff in my room. And when they do these HAWC searches, they have to go through everything. Everything. So, I had, more or less perfected the art of the pack rat of taking a very small amount of space and packing in as much as humanly possible. I would just arrange things just so that there was practically no air or empty space between anything. So I had lots of stuff there. So there was this HAWC search. Thankfully, I was there for probably about 9 or 10 months, and they only had one HAWC search in my dorms while I was there. So I only had to suffer through that once, and this was earlier on while I was there, so I didn't have lots and lots of stuff, but I still had enough stuff that I think it took a good 45 minutes for someone to go through just my things. And, trust me, when you're a collector and you have a stranger, not just any stranger, but a stranger who doesn't really care about the things you collect like you do, it's extremely nerve-wracking to be standing down there in like the middle of the street and have someone 3 stories up just pawing through your stuff. They could break something, or they could get something out of place, or something could get lost, or heck, if there was someone dishonest, they could just pocket it. Thankfully, that didn't happen to me, but there was this one tech sergeant. His name was Sergeant Friday, and he hated being there. He did not want to get assigned as a tech school teacher, but that's one of the things of the military. You take orders. So he was pretty much ordered to be a tech school instructor, and he hated it. So he would find ways to amuse himself, like throwing Nerf footballs at the students' heads when they were trying to study. When he was brought in to do one of these HAWC searches, that was a fun time for him. He loved it because not only did he get to torment people, but he also got tons of free stuff. So, he was a smoker. So if he came across like a room where some guy had like an entire carton or cartons of cigarettes, I think what they do is, like, when someone is searching your room, I think they allow you to stand right outside the door, but other than that, you got to stand out in the street. So Sergeant Friday would just be looking through. He would find like a whole carton of cigarettes. So a carton of cigarettes cost like what, $40? I know at least it did at that time. So he would pull out this carton of cigarettes, and that's a big infraction because you're not allowed to have flammable material in your dorm room. So he would pull out this carton of cigarettes, and he would say, "Oh, this is big trouble here. If someone had this in their dorm room, they could be phased back to phase 1. They would have no privileges at all. This is mine, isn't it? I brought this into your room. It's not yours, huh?" And the student would have no choice but to say, "Yeah, it's yours. You brought it in here with you. I saw you." So he would have like probably a 3-month supply of cigarettes by the time one of these HAWC searches was over. Yeah, I know there's not really a whole lot of stories to go along with a HAWC search. If it had happened more often, probably. But HAWC searches is something that they would really threaten us with. Just the name HAWC search was enough to get people really nervous. As if there was a HAWC search going on and you were there, you had to stand out in the street and do nothing for probably about 3 hours. In the cold of night. So if someone knew that a HAWC search was going on, you can't really lock your door. But if the student isn't there, I don't think they can go through their room unless they have special permission. So if they knew there was a HAWC search going on, they would leave, they would go somewhere else. And they would stay there, probably until early in the morning or late at night, whenever the HAWC search was over, so they could be at the pub drinking or whatever, while all these other poor chumps are standing out in the middle of the street. Alright, so that's the stuff with HAWC searches. Like I said, not really interesting, but I have about 5 more minutes left. So why don't I talk about why I'm counting out my change. I am going to a place called Frankenson. From what I understand, Frankenson, well, there's a guy named Frank, and he has a son, and I think they own like a trucking company. And they had this warehouse to store stuff that they would truck in, but the storehouse isn't always used. So it was basically just a big empty warehouse they would have to pay rent on, property taxes and stuff. So they decided that what they would do is they would rent out spaces to people. I mean, a lot of people have these dreams of owning a store or a shop, but they just can't afford the rent. But if they can rent a small space in a warehouse, where lots of other people are renting spaces, tons of customers just come to them, and they can set up shop in this small area, but they have stuff out there to sell. So that's what Frank and his son did. And basically, it was just completely taken over by the geek community. So, Frankenson is located in City of Industry in Los Angeles. I get to go there about once a year because it's such a long drive. It's about a 4-hour trip each way, so that's like 8 hours, an 8-hour round trip. And so whenever I do go, or I'm going to a convention or something, I count out all my change. Like I said, I only do it about twice a year, so I accumulate quite a bit. In Frankensons, basically, I want to take the camera with me. I want to walk around and basically show people kind of what it is that's there. I'm looking to get a few model kits. The Master Grade Tall Geese was recently released. I want to get my hands on that. I think I might want to get like a real grade Gundam Zeta. But what I'm really going there for are the Transformers. There are just, I mean, that's the two big things that are there. Gundam and Transformers. Now, of course, there's other people that sell like video games and action figures, bootleg DVDs. The really high-end figures that wear like the real cloth clothes. I forget what they call them, but you get like Rambo or the Ghostbusters or Rocky, Rambo, all that stuff. But I want to go there for the Transformers. I want to get my hands on the Masterpiece Soundwave, and I want to get the Hercules set, the third-party Devastator Transformers, as well as see what else is there. And so I'm really looking forward to going there, getting my hands on some of this stuff. And you can negotiate with the people that are there. I mean, the prices that are listed on these items aren't really set in stone. You can come up and say, hey, I have all these things. This thing is listed at like $30. You can give it to me for like 25, 28, something like that. You can haggle with these people and negotiate a pretty sweet deal. So basically, I want to go to the Transformer guy who has just tons and tons of Transformers and say, hey, how much money do you pull in on a given day? Since this place is only open like twice a week. I would say, so you pull in this much money a day. This is my budget. This is the stuff I'm looking for. I'm willing to spend up to this dollar amount with you if you can cut me a decent enough deal. If not, I have prices for this stuff from other websites or eBay that I can get a pretty sweet deal on. So if you're willing to work with me, I'll work with you. So hopefully I can come back with some really awesome stuff. I know people have been asking about the World's Smallest Transformer reviews. A lot of people say that that's why they started watching me in the first place. And there are a few third-party Transformers, really good ones that have come out. They're pretty expensive, but if I can find them there, I will pick them up, definitely, and do video reviews. And I also want to show you this little box that came in from Hong Kong a few days ago. This has two WST Transformers in it. I want to do good, decent reviews, so I'm not going to pull them out and show right now, but just know that right here, there are two WSTs waiting to be reviewed. And on the way back, there is a Games Workshop store that I go to maybe once or twice a year. Again, kind of like Frankensons. I'm looking to stop by there and just pick up a few things if they got something that I like. See if I can shoot some video there. Just as like, you know, like a day out with Steve. Like kind of like a show and tell of stuff that's out there, stuff that's available. Anyways, it was great chatting with you guys. I do have a list of new subscribers, so I figure I will just read them off to you right now. We have Ronald Devil, Beware of the Phil, Bob Ranson, Leonidas Esparta, and Engineer Jeff. Thank you guys and or girls. It is people like you that makes all this crap worthwhile. Alright, so I will leave you guys with that, and hopefully by the end of the week I'll have this awesome trip video up if we do manage to go. There's a little bit of logistics as to whether or not we can go, but for the most part it is more or less set in stone. So, I will see you guys later, and I am signing out.